As the federal government struggles to curb the people smuggling trade, one refugee already settled in WA is working to improve the image of asylum seekers. Hussain Sadiqi fled the unrest in Afghanistan. A member of the persecuted Hazara people and a national sports identity, he was considered a Taliban target. Now 10 years on, he's making the most of his new life in Perth and helping other refugees do the same. Claire Moody has the story.
Okay, boys, come on, please.
In Perth's growing migrant community, Hussain Sadiqi is developing quite a following.
Muhammad, see, hold the ball like this, not like this. Hold the ball like this. When you kick, point your toes, see, like this.
Aussie rules football may not come naturally, but he's keen to pass on his newfound skills to young refugees adjusting to life in WA.
That's the way they get in to know Australian culture.
Surf lifesaving is another pursuit he oversees in his role as sports coordinator for a migrant resource centre.
People who came from Africa, they know how to survive in desert. People who came from Afghanistan, for example, they know how to survive in mountain. But ocean is a new thing for them.
Hussain Sadiqi should know. His first encounter with the ocean was aboard a small fishing boat with 140 other asylum seekers during a treacherous week-long crossing from Indonesia to Australia.
We had the biggest sorur, and everybody's praying that night. Everybody praying, and a few people are screaming, and they said yes. And that night, I understand the danger of ocean.
It was the last leg of a 3-month journey which started here in the central highlands of Afghanistan, where he says the Taliban were burning villages and killing hundreds.
Young people were the best target for them, and they use them to run over the landmine, and because they stand in front of landmine and say, okay, I will shoot you or you run.
Then, aged 21, Hussain Sadiqi was considered a Taliban target. A national kung fu champion, he was well known and easy to find. He had no idea where he was headed when his family paid smugglers the equivalent of $5,000 to get him out of Afghanistan to safety.
To escape from Afghanistan, even from your own city, you have to find a smuggler. It was very, very stressful because, if they catch you, they kill you.
That was nearly 10 years ago, and today Hussain Sadiqi is making the most of his second chance at life. Apart from his day job at this migrant resource centre, the 30-year-old is a circus arts graduate and recently appeared in 2 martial arts movies, the latter which earned him a US Film Industry Award for his fight scene choreography. So, what's next?
Hopefully one day in Hollywood, You see me in Hollywood. Yeah.
And although a role model to many refugee children in Perth, it's an ambition to eventually settle down and have a family of his own.
If I find somebody who's my half.
Soulmate?
Yeah, soulmate, my half, yeah. It would be nice to get married.
Okay.
But don't tell anybody. That's the joke.
But for the time being, he's concentrating on somehow rescuing his existing family, left behind to face the Taliban's resurgence and what he calls its new weapon, the suicide bomb.
Taliban is like a cancer. Still, nobody found any cure for it, any vaccine to get rid of them, and they're spreading more and more and more.
There's growing pressure on aid agencies and the Pakistani...
One brother's already made the journey and now living and studying in Perth after spending more than 2 years in detention in Nauru. Another brother's also here on a temporary basis after a Perth soccer club set up by Macedonian refugees agreed to help him get a visa and pay for his flight.
Initially, it was a big barrier with the language. The language was probably the hardest part of getting Murtaza, who we actually lovingly called Jimmy, because the boys couldn't get their tongue around the name, so affectionately on the field he's known as Jimmy. And once he settled in, he basically became a really good contributor.
The key to winning this game is this man here.
Hussain Sadiqi hopes the trial will result in a permanent visa so that another brother can start a new life in WA.
Hopefully, they sponsor him again and he could stay here. And probably one day Perth Glory would be soon, they call him.
It seems like a long shot, but in the life of Hussain Sadiqi, anything seems possible.
He's a quick learner, see? Anybody who came as a refugee, they're not useless people. They need for an opportunity to show themselves who they are. That's what I try to do. And this is the message I want to tell everybody in the Australian community.